Hello and welcome to the Cameron Sadeghi Show. I am your host, Cameron Sadeghi. We have a great conference championship weekend show for you here today. 4 teams, one dream. The Super Bowl, February 3rd on CBS. 6:30 Eastern kickoff for that football game. Niners, the Patriots, the Ravens, the Falcons, all in it. All came this far for a Super Bowl. And only 2 teams, and those 2 teams, Baltimore and San Francisco. The Niners got a huge victory today. 28-24 in Atlanta, down 17-0, and climbed all the way back to get the victory in Atlanta on the road. The other game, New England, Baltimore. The Ravens absolutely did an astounding job with the time of possession in the second half of that football game. They won 28-13 in Foxborough. So, yes, no home team won. No home team in those conference championship games went to the Super Bowl. Very interesting, lot to talk about, but first I want to get to New England and Baltimore. That was the game that just occurred recently, just finalized recently, and 28-13, as I mentioned, the final. It's just amazing how Baltimore came out here and won this game. We'll talk about New England in a few minutes. But Baltimore's ability, okay, in that second half. First half was awful for Baltimore. Absolutely awful. To me, New England should have been up way more than 13-7 in the first half of that ball game. But their ability to fight, chip, come away with a victory, getting the necessary turnovers, giving it to Ray Rice, taking some deep shots down the field to open up the running lanes, Flacco hitting Pitta on key critical third downs, Anquan Bolden making some incredible catches, and then defensively, not letting the Patriots get huge gains, making critical stops. I mean, the Patriots did crumble as well, but we'll talk about that soon. And then just the fight, the will to win, even coming after a double overtime game. Again, that was in Denver, in the thin air. That's thin air, Denver, Mile High, Peyton Manning. You barely squeak it out in double overtime. You come into here tired, beat up, and still win the football game. Extraordinary fight. Yes, Baltimore does not have the talent that New England has, whether it's coaching or with their players. When you look at personnel, when you go down the line, A to Z, tell me who's better. Patriots. But that competitive spirit, the camaraderie, the ability to scrap through, Baltimore showed that today. Baltimore made all the plays to win. And again, this is what I always say. In the playoffs, in key games, in championship type games with evenly matched squads who have similar production, the only thing it boils down to, the few plays in the games, the turnovers, the third downs, the field. That's all it really comes down to. In the regular season, you'll face a team like Jacksonville. Yeah, you can turn it over a few times and still win. Yeah, that's okay. Like New England. This year, they faced Jacksonville, played horrible, but they still won. Because they just flat out had way more talent than Jacksonville. But playing like that against an evenly matched team, not going to work out. You cannot have any lapses in games in the playoffs. It's almost like zero margin for error. And I know that may sound redundant, and you're saying, oh, that's kind of obvious, but it's huge. Like that one penalty with the Sebastian Vollmer holding penalty really set back the New England Patriots in the second half. It was a drive killer, and that New England Patriots really needed that drive. They couldn't get it. Baltimore, you see in the first half, those few early penalties with the personal foul, unnecessary roughness, really set back the Ravens, and it killed them on the drives. And we saw that. And it just flipped the script. As I heard James Brown from CBS, the tale of two halves. That's exactly what it was. So, Baltimore, huge kudos. You come in there with no one believing in you. I didn't believe in you. I didn't believe the Ravens can come out here and win. I said it was going to be close. I had no idea New England was going to be that lifeless. And it just that flat. I mean, yes, they didn't have a keep to leave. Ridley gets knocked out of the football game with that brutal hit by Bernard Pollard. But again, it just, and we're gonna move on to New England. This is what I wanted to segue into. Man, New England. I mean, having those opportunities and just it slips out of your fingertips. Oh my goodness. You just come up that short. I mean, a good first half wasn't amazing. You could have closed it out with a touchdown at the end of the half, or even, you could have gotten that touchdown at the end of the half. It didn't happen. And then you had some early opportunities in that first. You had the Welker 3rd and 2 drop on the first drive of the game. That would have put the Patriots right into Baltimore Raven territory and marching down the field again. You had so many opportunities, couldn't cash it in. You had the turnovers. You had the holding penalty. It was just a culmination of things, and then the Aqib Talib injury. It just was a nightmare for New England. I mean, you're at home, everything going your way, and it just like your heart just got ripped out of your entire body, and you couldn't do anything about it. That's basically what it was for New England. And you look, again, 3 turnovers is absolutely ridiculous. Okay? And then to not even score at all in the second half. I mean, get one drive to go. I mean, I saw that at the end of the game, New England's trying to make a comeback. Huge throw to Welker off of a double move pattern right down the seam, just outside of the hash marks. And they get that there. They get in the red zone. Then Tom Brady throws a pass that was good, but just batted up in the air and then picked off. That was just the end of it for New England. I mean, it just... And I don't know what it's with New England. Maybe, some people could call it bad luck. Some people would say, it's just, poor New England this. But, hey, whoever makes the most plays, it's not the way you play. I mean, it wasn't pretty for Baltimore. It was ugly, but they won. So, again, with New England, in these championship settings, they've come up short. In just a few plays. That's all it takes. And you know what? Maybe New England needs to retool talent-wise, especially defensively. Maybe get another shutdown corner. I mean, you got to have someone besides Aqib Talib, because they got burned. I mean, Anquan Boldin was just tearing it up in the fourth quarter of that football game. So, pretty disappointing for New England. Baltimore, huge kudos. And they've got that game against San Francisco. If you were talking about the Harbaugh Bowl and all that, to me, I think it's not about necessarily the Harbaughs. It's about Ray Lewis. And, yes, I know it's going to get hyped up within the media about Harbaugh, but it's really to me, critical for New England. I mean, not for Baltimore, rather, to get a quick start in that one. We'll talk about that later on. But with the way Baltimore plays, they do not have the talent. And, I mean, yes, they have great talent. Don't get me wrong. But let's stop lying here. If this game was played on paper, and I know it isn't, but who has more talent? Be real. Be real. It's Baltimore. I mean, it's San Francisco, rather. What am I saying? It's San Francisco. Baltimore's the one with less talent. You absolutely have to either be a Baltimore Raven bandwagon fan or just doesn't watch football a lot to say that the Ravens' talent is better than San Francisco's. Honestly. So, again, kudos to Baltimore. And a lot of people are talking about how New England, isn't that great. And how New England, and how Belichick was a sore loser not doing the post-game interview, and Shannon Sharp calling him out. I don't really buy into that post-game interview stuff. I think for every losing team, and I've believed in this, I think every single losing team needs to be left alone. And that's an emotional game. And I heard someone say, it's just football, it's just a game. You're right, it is just a game. Football is just a game. But when it's your job as a professional, you take it more emotionally and have more passion into it. So I think it's unfair to call Belichick a sore loser. Okay, to me, I feel as if Belichick and company, they've been scrutinized a lot. And yes, I know a lot of people don't like them, and I respect that, because I know people don't like winners and they want to go for the upset, but you gotta respect their consistency. And you can say Spygate all you want, but I don't think, going to the playoffs every year, going to the AFC Championship twice, getting to a Super Bowl once in 2 years, and going 16-0 in 1 year, I don't think that's a failure at all. I think Bill Belichick is still one of the best coaches in NFL history. And dare I say this, I think Tom Brady, I think Tom Brady's the best quarterback to ever play this game. I heard Boomer Esiason say it. I totally agree with him. What Tom Brady's had to do with this with less talent than Joe Montana in the free agency era is extraordinary. The production that he's put. You can say Spygate all you want. I'm still supporting the New England Patriots here. I still think they're a quality team in this league. And for Joe Flacco's legacy, this guy is a true winner. And I'm a pretty big supporter of Joe Flacco. If those of you who've heard me for a very long time, you know I like Joe Flacco a lot. I really think Joe Flacco, even today, Joe Flacco wasn't credited enough. I honestly think that. I think Joe Flacco should have received more credit today. I thought it was a little unfair that, look, I know it's emotional for Ray, but I thought more credit should have been delivered to Flacco than Ray Lewis. Because Flacco's to me, was the one who made the more plays today than Ray Lewis did. I'm just being frank here. And yes, Ray Lewis is an emotional leader, but no, Flacco has made more of the plays. I heard, and I know a lot of you hate Jim Rome, or a lot of people do, but he said Ray Lewis makes the noise, Joe Flacco makes the plays. I totally agree with that. Yes, Ray Lewis was good 10 years ago, but today, Flacco's better, and Flacco is the true catalyst for this team. Alright, let's take a quick timeout. We'll be back in 30 seconds. We'll talk about the Niners and the Falcons. But before we even get to break, I want to tell you this. You can tweet me at SM_Cameron. Or you can call in 949-456-2911 to get your thoughts here on the program. Or you can just simply comment on the comment board. There's a little green comment bubble, and you can just type away. Go right ahead. Give me your thoughts. Niners, Falcons, Patriots, Ravens. What's your Super Bowl prediction? I want to hear your thoughts too. It's not just mine. It's also yours. That count as well. Let's take a quick timeout. We are back here, Cameron Sadeghi Show. 17 minutes past hour number 1. San Francisco, Atlanta. And you look here, 28-24 Niners. It was one of the more ridiculous, absolute collapses I've ever seen by the Atlanta Falcons. Okay? The Niners came in here at the number 2 seed and the Falcons number 1. Falcons, this is theirs. This is theirs to lose. You're up 17-0. 17-0. You end the first quarter 10-0, and it's the tempo is yours, the crowd is yours, and it slips away again. And then at the end of the half, you're up 24-14. Then in the third quarter, you give up a touchdown, and now it's down to 3. And you don't even score one field goal, one safety, one touchdown in the second half of that football game. Again, the Falcons collapse. I talked about it, this whole year. I've been saying, I don't trust the Falcons, I don't trust the Falcons, I don't trust the Falcons, and I don't even trust the Falcons. Right? I said, they're going to collapse. They're not making it to the Super Bowl. Remember when I said that? And I was going on that rant. I said they're not the best team in the NFC. San Francisco is. They're not the best team in the NFC. San Francisco is. Right? Right? Yeah, it proved today. At home? At home? Against a team that was shell-shocked. You stopped the read option. You stopped the read option with Kaepernick. You wouldn't let Kaepernick even scramble for a ton of yards like he did against Green Bay. You were keeping him in the pocket. You've got Turner, Roddy White, and you lose. Julio Jones is making huge plays, and you lose. Gore didn't get 100 yards today. He did get 90 yards, 21 carries. That's great. He didn't get 100 yards. You limited him there. LaMichael James all of a sudden explodes in the third quarter. Okay? Then you have Vernon Davis that he explodes. With Atlanta, it was stunning to me. Zach Miller, he's a really good tight end in this league. I'm talking a solid tight end. He used to be on the Oakland Raiders. He went to Seattle. they faced last week against Seattle, Zach Miller absolutely went off. Same with Vernon Davis. What is wrong with Atlanta's defense in containing tight ends? What is wrong? And then, to top it off, the conservative play in the second half. Passing it 3 times. Just the overall bad play calling. Passing it 3 times in a row. Running it 3 times in a row. Then the next drive. Let's dump it off for 2 yards. Let's run it up the middle 2 times. Let's punt again. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Get into the red zone. Not Flacco. Matt Ryan scrambling to his right. Looks down the middle. 4th down. Throws it right down the middle of Roddy White. 3 men are there. 3 linebackers are there. You're going to throw it in there? Yes, it was pass interference on San Francisco. But why in the world would you throw it in a triple coverage? You're in the red zone with 2 minutes to go. Your crowd, your home, everything in the red zone with 2 minutes to go, down by 4, and you can't get a touchdown with Matty Ice. I'm sorry, but I might have to blame the coaching here. The coaching in Mike Smith, and I like Mike Smith a lot, but you can't be up with the lead and collapse every single game and have to try to fight your way back every single game. It's ridiculous with this team. How bad can it get? How awful, how atrocious can it get? Again and again. I mean, going into halftime, you don't tell your team, we're 2 quarters away, let's give it everything we've got. I mean, I know that's kind of obvious and cheesy for anyone to say, but 24-14, you're like, you know what, we're not going to do it again. We're not going to do it again. We're not going to lose to that same, we're not going to put ourselves in a hole like we did against Seattle and cruise our way to the Super Bowl. But instead, you let a team with absolutely no momentum, with everything going against them, and their run blocking is nearly perfect. Everything is perfect. No penalties whatsoever. No. You don't deserve to win. If the Falcons won today, they would have not deserved it. Because I don't like teams who collapse on a normal basis. Like the Falcons do. It's sheer ridiculousness. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I hope the Falcons learn from this as a total organization. They gotta learn it quickly, or else they won't be seeing a Super Bowl berth for a pretty long time. And that's a pretty talented group. It's gonna be unfortunate for them. It's gonna be really, really, really unfortunate for them. Let's take one more break. We'll be back. We're gonna have Chris Sylvester on the program. He's a great host. He really does a solid job on here, and we'll have him on. So please stay tuned. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Cameron Sadeghi Show. Back here, Cameron Sadeghi Show. Chris Sylvester, as we mentioned on the show, he will be coming on the show. Chris has, he's on the Chris's Corner. You can hear him a lot there. He also did a recent show, Long Beach State's men's basketball show. Does an excellent job there. So we'll have him on. very shortly. I want to hear your thoughts at SM_Cameron. You can tweet me, call me, call 949-456-2911, and I'll guarantee you a spot on the show. So please call in, comment on the green bubble. Perfectly fine with that on the show. A lot of people are also, before we get to Chris, I want to talk here. I heard someone, Twitter account, this guy, he said, you know what? Ray Lewis's act is overdone. And how Ray Lewis seems fake as a person. I heard someone say this. It's kind of interesting. And this is basically what he said. Let me find it really quickly. If I can, I'll find it for you. But he basically said how, I don't think Ray Lewis is, he's kind of, his act is a little bit extreme. He thinks God is on his side. That makes me mad. You know what I told him? I told him I partially agree with you. Look, I respect Ray Lewis a lot, and I'm not trying to pull any punches here, trying to be controversial to get ratings or anything like that, but from the deep down in my heart, I think he's a pretty nice guy. But overall, his act, and it can be a little redundant and a little, dare I say this, kind of annoying. It seems fake at times. And I actually agree with this guy. His name was @TheEraChris on Twitter. He's right because, I know he's an emotional guy, but it just seems like overdone. And I don't know if that's just me or maybe a lot of people agree with this. It's kind of hard to explain in a way because, how would I put this? I feel like he's trying to, become a more likable figure. I really do. I think he tries, with all that's been going on with that murder case years back, he's trying to gain that respect from others, I feel like. And sometimes he'll go a little overboard, it feels like. And you can kind of see it. And you can say, okay, that's just you. Fine. You can say, Cameron, your opinion is just doesn't make sense about Ray Lewis. But at times it's a little extreme. At times it's a little extreme. I know it's kind of crazy for me to say that, but deep down, if you want to know, I just thought a guy just made a good point. I don't think he's a total fake, but he's kind of a little overdone. A little overdone with what he did. I mean, God is with us and all that. I mean, I'm just not really that. It just doesn't bode well with me. Okay, I just don't really personally like, someone. It just seems overdone. It's just hard to explain for me, but it just seems overdone with Ray Lewis's act. Seems that way. Alright, let's take a quick break. We'll get Chris Sylvester on to talk Niners Falcons. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Chris Sylvester on the Cameron Sadeghi Show, Conference Championship Weekend, All NFL, as promised. Niners and Falcons. I called it one of the biggest collapses by the Falcons, and they find a way to lose again. And by the way, for those of you who know Chris Sylvester, he's also on the He has his own show on here, Chris's Corner. Also, he did a recent show, Long Beach State men's basketball show. He did that recently. So, Chris, thanks for coming on. With San Francisco and Atlanta, I mean, perfectly set up for Atlanta. At home, everything rolling, 17-0. You've got the run game, everything going your way, and then all of a sudden, those woes and those bad memories of collapses just come again for the Falcons, and they fall short in this one. Do you think that this collapse, you know what, let me just put it this way. Who should be blamed for this collapse in Atlanta?
Well, you certainly can't put it on Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan today had a record-setting day. He set a Falcons single-game postseason record with his 396 passing yards. He did throw an interception, but he was only sacked once, and he was only sacked once, and no fumbles from Ryan as well. So you can't put it on Matt Ryan. You really can't put it on any members of Atlanta's offense. Michael Turner did get a little bit beat up in this game and was injured, but we got to hand it to Jacquizz Rodgers. He did a great job carrying the rock for the Falcons for the second half, the majority of the second half of this game. But I mean, you really got to put it on. You can't put it on anybody. You can't put it on anybody. You just got to, in my opinion, you got to give credit to Colin Kaepernick and the San Francisco Giants. This team has prided itself off of three things since Kaepernick's taken over at quarterback: the clutchness of the quarterback, genius coach, and the big play defense. That's what this team has built itself around, and they've really lived up to it all. And here they are headed to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, look, I mean, Chris, I kind of put the blame, and people can say that's kind of unfair, but I kind of put it on Mike Smith because you can't, again, time and time again, as a collective unit, come up short after time with the lead, and you can't find a way to win. Even if it's ugly, you just can't find a way to win. And I don't want to put it on Matt Ryan because I think that's unfair. I don't really like, whenever there's a collapse, I don't really like putting on the players as much as I do on the coaches. I mean, you have to wonder, though, if this continues to occur, would you put it on Mike Smith, or would you just, who would you put the blame if these woes continue for the Falcons?
Well, I would put it on Mike Smith. It goes back to some of the bonehead decisions he's made in the past. Something that, just pops into my head when I think of his name is that collapse in that overtime game a couple years ago between the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons, where he went for it on a fourth down and didn't get it, and gave the Saints perfect field position, and they were able to get a win in overtime. Now, that was merely a regular season game, and it obviously doesn't live up to the hype of this postseason matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Atlanta Falcons. But to be completely honest with you, it's just that I thought the Falcons were a little berated, and people have been saying that the whole time, and they did squeak out a win after almost, they did have a collapse today with their lead, couldn't hold on to the lead today, but were able to somehow come back in the last 20 seconds against the Seattle Seahawks last week. So, you do put a little bit of it on the coach, but at the same time, you look at this team's schedule just going back to the regular season. They did beat some pretty good teams, but, you look down their win losses. I'm looking down at it right now. Washington, Denver, and that's it. Those are the only two teams that they beat that made the season. So I really thought they had their way with a pretty soft schedule, and they did get a lucky win. It was a lucky win last week versus Seattle. Very fortunate to come out of that with a victory. So, as much as I'd like to put it on Coach Smith, I just can't. I just have to say that, I'm surprised that the Atlanta Falcons got this far, and, I didn't think they deserved the Super Bowl bid, and sure enough, the 49ers knocked them off.
I agree. I thought Seattle should have won, too. Let's move on, and look, I credit San Francisco again. I actually thought I was really surprised when they were down 17-0. I thought it was going to be more competitive, especially in the first quarter. But I mean, San Francisco, they found their way and they won. I had a feeling they were going to win that football game. San Francisco with Kaepernick he really delivered in the pocket. Last week, we saw Dom Capers really go into man coverage and try to apply the pressure on the blitz, but Kaepernick kept avoiding it last week. This time, the Falcons went more of a zone. They didn't try to, rush Kaepernick too much so that he wouldn't get out of the pocket. So they zoned it up really most of the time. Kaepernick made those key critical throws. Do you think that Colin Kaepernick in next week's game against Baltimore, again, Baltimore, and I've said this a lot, they don't really have a good rush defense. Do you think he'll have that balance with the rushing and the passing game next week, more successful than they had this week against Atlanta?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to tell because, Baltimore has a very good defense as well. Green Bay, you talked about the game last week against Green Bay, and they really have a very sketchy defense. I mean, I don't know what other way to put it. They have some great players such as Clay Matthews, on their defense, and B.J. Raji himself, but they really just, for whatever reason, couldn't deliver, in games this season. A lot of people expected the Packers to do what they did the last two seasons and just dominate the regular season and come in coasting in the postseason. Obviously, last season they got knocked off by the New York Giants, but a lot of people thought, well, maybe that was just they weren't ready after the bye week. And I don't mean to turn this into a Green Bay Packers conversation by any means, but he played against the soft defense. I'm not taking anything away from Kaepernick. He played against the soft defense in the Green Bay Packers, and then he faced a decent one. I'm not going to say Atlanta has a great defense, but I'm not going to say they have a bad defense as well. Despite Baltimore in 2 weeks from now in the Super Bowl having probably the best defense that San Francisco's ran into in a while, despite them having a rushing defense, like you said, I don't know if it's going to be any easier for Colin Kaepernick. You have a lot of veteran guys like Ray Lewis, for most of us. For the Ravens on their defense, obviously those two players aren't what they once were, and they've certainly diminished a lot. But I mean, there's still guys that make plays and can help the younger guys out on the defensive end. Know what to expect from running quarterbacks because in this day and age in the NFL, we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years, more dual threat quarterbacks come into the NFL, and I'm sure the Ravens have faced a couple over their time. I'm sure the Ravens defense has faced a couple this season, if not, last season or the season before. So, to say that it's going to be any easier for Kaepernick to get that balance going with the running and the passing, it's really hard to tell. I do think that the Ravens have a better defense than Atlanta, and, I really can't give you a straight answer on that just because, I'd have to go back and really look at the Ravens against dual threat quarterbacks this season. But I do think that, the Ravens are going to do their best. And I think they'll do a pretty good job at, containing Colin Kaepernick and forcing him to make throws from the pocket today like he did against Atlanta.
Okay, and I want to get your Super Bowl prediction. I know it's early, 2 weeks, and look, we already have the Harbaugh puns, and everyone's just going crazy with this Harbaugh stuff, especially with the media. I'm just gonna cut dry. Who wins the Super Bowl?
Oh man, I was thinking about this. I knew I was coming on this show, and I took a good half an hour trying to think about this, and if I really had to choose, I think I'd pick San Francisco 49ers. I just think that, I just don't think that the Ravens are going to be able to play better than them for a full 60 minutes, for a full 4 quarters. I don't know. I mean, the Ravens, they've proved us wrong the last week, and I'm sure they can prove us wrong again in the Super Bowl. But I don't know. I just think that San Francisco has just team. Like I said, they have the clutch quarterback, the genius coach, and the big play defense. Kaepernick can run, he can pass, he has great receivers. He's got Davis, Crabtree. I think Vernon Davis might be the best tight end in the NFL after watching him today. And then he can hand off to Michael James or Frank Gore. So I'm not taking anything away from the great receivers that Joe Flacco has to throw to and Ray Rice in the backfield at all. But I do think that San Francisco is going to win this game. I was listening to what you had to say about Ray Lewis before I came on. I'm not a huge Ray Lewis fan myself, but I wouldn't mind seeing him go out on top. So this is going to be a very close, low-scoring game. But I think somehow, some way, the 49ers are going to come out on top.
You know what you said about the Ravens proving everyone wrong? Yeah, they basically have proven me wrong this entire postseason. I didn't think they could come out against Denver. I thought they had no chance really against Denver, especially in that thin air. And then to go into New England and they stunned me as well. I have to say, and I know, and I even said this earlier on the show, I said San Francisco, talent-wise, up and down, better. I even think that the coaching staff for San Francisco is slightly better as well. But I cannot at all, I did not, when I was thinking Patriots-Ravens, I did not think of the emotional factor of Ray Lewis and the momentum rolling. I'm just going Ravens by 3. By the skin of their teeth, they're going to win. But, I don't think for this Super Bowl that the better team's going to win, but the most emotional team will win in the Super Bowl. That's just personally what I think. But thank you for coming on, Chris. Please, everybody, listen to Chris's Corner. You can hear him regularly on Spreaker. Do you know when your next show is?
I'll probably try to get one in tomorrow. Right now, since it's college basketball season, and really, we're kind of like not in the middle. Well, obviously we have the Super Bowl coming up, but the reason why I've been doing the Long Beach State men's basketball show lately, and instead of Chris's Corner, there's no, I'm not putting Chris's Corner to anything. I'm just kind of like leaving it be so all the sports kind of get tough again. But right now in the NBA, you have not too much going on. You're still kind of working your way to the halfway point of the season. No super huge stories to talk about. So kind of take that off. Really, right now it's college basketball and the NFL, and since you only have those two, college football is over with. The MLB is in its boring state of the off season. No more big or free agent signings should we expect. So right now I'm doing the Long Beach State men's basketball show about twice a week. I was under the weather this past Friday, or else I would have done a show. But I'll definitely try to get the Long Beach State men's basketball show in tomorrow, and then expect Chris's Corner to come back. Once the NBA season gets revamped up and we get closer and closer to opening day.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. We'll see you later.
Thank you, Cameron.
All right, that was Chris Sylvester. Yeah, Chris's Corner is going to be, again, he's done a really good job on here. He made a good point. I honestly, if it wasn't Ray Lewis's last, run, I'd go with San Francisco. But I've never seen, and just in my lifetime, everybody, I've never seen an emotional impact the way this team, any football team going in to a Super Bowl like this. Maybe you're saying, "Oh, I'm a prisoner of the moment." I've never really seen this. I didn't think they had the same talent. I don't even think they really had better talent than Denver. Okay? But they still won in double overtime. Right? Scrapping away victories. It's not the way you play, how you play. It's, do you get it done? And that's basically what championship football is all about. It's really what it boils down to. It's going to be evenly matched teams. Comes down to just a few plays. That's what I mentioned earlier. It is what it is. I'm stunned that the Ravens have come this far. Credit to them, but I've never seen an emotional impact the way the Ravens have suddenly mustered up here these past few games. It's incredible. Okay, let's take one more break. We'll be back in a minute. I want to talk about, yes, it does have some relation to the NFL a little bit. It's about a college football player. You've heard about this story a lot. Manti Te'o, his girlfriend. I didn't think it was that big of a deal when I first heard the story, but I'll tell you why it's even a bigger deal than what people are even saying and mentioning it is. I'll say all of that in 30 seconds. Please wait. Our goal here on the show is all NFL. This does have a little relation, as I said. You got Manti Te'o, Notre Dame linebacker extraordinaire, Heisman Trophy runner-up. The guy, again, and, you know, he said he was a part of a hoax with his, he said, of his girlfriend, who's allegedly, you know, not real, and he says, you know, he was in this hoax, it's fake, it's not his fault, and you know what, and he's going to be interviewed by Katie Couric Thursday. You know what really shocked me about Manti Te'o is the interview with Jeremy Schaap, the first ever interview after the news was reported by Deadspin. He goes on and, you know, he does the interview with Jeremy Schaap, but he says no cameras and limited audio usage. Why? If you firmly believe that it was a hoax and you didn't set this up to enhance yourself in the Heisman Trophy race, then why wouldn't you tell the truth with the cameras to show how genuine and how honest you are? If you know you're right. And some of you may say, oh, big whoop, it's girlfriend this, who cares? But these little things, and NFL teams really care about this. If an NFL team, and there's a talented player, but he's a liar, his draft stock is going to go, it's going to get really, really, you know, downhill. I mean, April won't be a beautiful thing. All the talk about him and this whole hoax. I feel bad for him in a way because some of the unfair criticism by some people, their inappropriate criticism, but hey, if he's lying, it's kind of showing. I mean, there's some indication that he kind of is. We don't know for sure yet. Notre Dame's investigating, but just to me, Manti, you gotta step up your game. Step up your game. I mean, seriously. You go on and you say you don't want a camera? How are you going to seem legitimate? How are people going to believe in what you're saying if you're restricting and you're ruining the process? I don't get it. I think, and look, I don't want to call anyone a liar, but it kind of is right now. Kind of is. It's showing a little bit. You know, I think his draft stock is in real danger. He's got to be very careful how he carries himself and handles himself in the next interview with Katie Couric. Really does. By the way, we just got a caller in. Let's hear. It's blocked. We don't know who this is. Excuse me, are you calling into the show?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wait, who is this?
This is TJ Jackson. I just want to chime in quickly on my detailed story.
On the show?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say that I think my opinion is that Monteteo should come out with the truth already, because you see what happened with Lance Armstrong and Tiger Woods, and the truth come out eventually, and they look stupid. It looks stupid.
Wait. Excuse me. Time out. Can I ask you something really quickly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think I know who this is, but I'm not really sure. Are you pulling a prank on me?
No, sir. This is real color.
Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead with your story.
No, I just wanted to say that I hear your show talking about Montpellier on National Sports Station on Spreaker.com. I just wanted to say that that I feel that Montpellier should just in this interview on Thursday that you talk about, he should really come out with the truth, because the truth always comes and seeks and finds you. Because you see what happened in the past. You've seen what happened in the past with Lance Armstrong and Tiger Woods. So, I think you need to come out with the truth as soon as possible, so it doesn't keep happening with him. More drama doesn't keep stowing.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's a good point. Thank you very much. I think I know who this is, but I think someone just pulled a prank on me, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But if they didn't, great. But I think I know who it is. I think I know who it is. But assuming the caller is not prank, even if it was a prank, let's try to analyze what he's trying to say here. If he comes out with the truth, to me, I agree with the caller in a way, because let's say he knows that he kind of set this up himself to enhance himself for the Heisman Trophy race, okay? And he knew that, the hoax wasn't true and that he kind of did it, okay? I personally think that he should come out with the truth. Because if he prolongs this more and more and longer and longer and longer and longer, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, and his stock will just go plummet down, 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 down. So he should get this, Katie Couric interview. He should just get this over with. Explain, be candid, done. You don't have to worry about it, and your draft stock won't go down. The two. I mean, it won't be as bad. But if he tells the truth and it was actually a hoax, then good for him. His draft stock doesn't even get affected at all. But if he tells the truth and he says, "Oh, I was lying. I actually set this up myself." Yes, his draft stock will plummet, but it won't be as bad as if he prolongs it more and more and more. Thanks for that caller, but okay, I think I know who it is. Cameron Sadeghi Show, we really appreciate all the calls, everything. We appreciate it. This guy, I think I know who it is. We've appreciated all the comments over this year, and everything. Please like our Facebook page, National Sports, all one word. The only capitalized letter is the first letter, and no space. So please check us there, and we also have a website. Let me give you the link here on the comment board. So there it is. All right, you can check there, and then that's basically it. You can follow me on Twitter at @SM_Cameron. The Cameron Sadeghi Show will be on Super Bowl Sunday, and we'll do a special. I think we'll do a special show for an hour and a half, probably at 2:00 p.m. Pacific time. We'll break down the game. I'll make sure we get guests on the show. Those of you who've listened to me in the past know that I had a Super Bowl show last year. I actually had two guests come on the program. I had Art Thiel, one of the better Seattle sports writers, and I did have two. I don't know, maybe I just had one. But I did have a Super Bowl show. It was great, and I hope to do so here on Spreaker.com. And then after the NFL season, I plan on doing a whole NBA show, just NBA shows, and breaking it down with the NBA as things heat up over there. So thank you very much, And like always, hasta luego.